Good. 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 Enough. As good enough.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I am doing great, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. You're gonna be so jealous when you're gonna see what I have for our next recording, because I was gifted for Father's Day, and I just now got a Father's Day gift, and it's a long story, but a microphone made for podcasts.
Ah, well, I bought a microphone. It's sitting right over there.
But yours says Fisher Price on it.
Yeah. Oh,
It's plastic and it's
still works. So
yes.
changes the tone of my voice, but you know. By the way, look, viewers, listeners, this is Mark Lips and my co-host Sam Lewis, and we are here with Good Enough. You are on the Good Enough podcast, and trust me, it's good enough. But I am representing one of our sponsors, Punk Racing. My co-host, he's got his company, Pride Staff, in there. The Right Choice Farm and Catering is another sponsor. It's in Northern California, and also the Happy Friday Neighbors newsletter. So we got our sponsors. We feel very pro about that. And I think they're getting the long end of the stick right now. But anyway, we have great guests, and we have a really special guest today. I know, man. I love the mug. We got merch. We have merch. Who knew? We're big time, baby.
Big time.
So we have merch. I don't have my merch yet, though.
I'm gonna hook you up. I promise.
All right. Yeah. Tell them I want all that stuff that you got. I want that.
All right.
And so we got merch, but our guest today, if you been on the cast or seen our podcast before, we mentioned blue zones, and if you don't know what blue zones are, you're gonna find out in a few minutes, and it's really pretty exciting stuff.
My friend I was meeting with today, he knew what blue zones were, and he said, "Yeah, isn't that where people live a long time or something?" I said, "Yeah, you're."
You know what it is, and you'll see on these communities that are ranked blue zones communities, and there's 5 of them around the world. One of them is Loma Linda, California, a city. But when Dan Buettner went out and about, and I'm repeating what probably she's going to say, but Dan Buettner went out and about, he went to all these blue zones, determined which ones were the areas where people were living the longest. Then he went to all those areas and found out what are the commonalities in all these areas that these people live so long. And, it's not just, eat your vegetables.
It's not drink your bourbon and eat your vegetables, is it?
Well, unless it's unless you're having good neighborly time and positive family relationships. If there's a beer involved, I'm sure that's fine. But it's primarily plant-based and for health, these communities. But
whiskey's plant-based. It's corn.
Keep corn. Yeah,
whiskey.
Corn whiskey. That's just like there's a sandwich in every beer.
Sandwich in every beer.
So anyway, should we get to our guests?
I say yes. We're still a little bit early. We're 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes.
All right. Well, I never know, man, because I start running around with my mouth, and next thing I know, we're.
Mark, I think I need to get the logo like here, so when I, instead I'm
or drink together, or can you drink? Oh, that's
or
right.
Get the logo on the bottom.
That's exactly right. No, that logo is bad placement on the logo.
It really is. I need to speak to my merch person.
You want it to be holding it, on whatever side, and be able to see it. Oh, who did that? I don't want that on mine. I don't want mine like that.
I'll speak to, I think, Candace.
Your marketing people, because that's not good. That's a faux pas.
Yeah. I need it, or on the bottom. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, or the bottom.
A guy told me one time, always drink out of this side of the cup, never drink out of this side. Because if you do, you go.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Thank you, Henny Youngman. The or was that Rodney Dangerfield?
Wow.
Maybe. But no, maybe put a message on the bottom of the cup. Bite me.
F off.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way,
All right, it's 2:00, dude.
all right, let's go.
All right. Stay tuned, everyone. We're coming back. Looky there.
Hello, hello.
We did it again, Mark. Somehow we did it again.
I know. We went down. Listen, I got to tell you, Jamey, and I apologize to you guys, Jamey, April. Sam thought we were interviewing the Blue Man Group. So
Right now I'm a little disappointed, but I'm sure you guys could change my thinking on that.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. We are wearing blue, but
Yeah.
you definitely don't want to see me performing like that in any way, shape, or form.
not to put any pressure on you guys, but we're the cheap podcast in that we only bought the 40-minute version of Zoom.
That's
and
true.
because it's free, it was the right price. And but in success, we'll pay the $12 and get a little more time. So it's going to go quick. I just one question: where were you in the bio, Jamey? Where were you overseas?
Oh, I lived in Australia a couple
Oh,
different times.
A
Yeah.
couple of different times.
Yeah. And then other than that, it's good old Lake County. You know, it's either Australia or Lake County. Those are the choices
Wow.
in my life.
You know, see that we don't have enough time. I want to talk. So why were you in Australia? Was it?
My husband, well, Tim, you know Tim, we decided to apply to become residents there. We never made it to the final residency, but we migrated over there, and they at the time they needed 2 different occupations. I was still in college. He was already a math teacher, and math teacher was one of the occupations that they said, we'll let you in if you're a math teacher, because they're very strict.
Wow.
So I had some family over there because I had been an exchange student, and so we sold everything we had and just left Lake County and went to Australia. Yeah, it was great.
so Mark, are you going to explain who we got on here if the people are
Oh,
listening?
sorry. Listen,
They're not really the Blue Man Group listeners.
Yeah, they're not the Blue Man Group. These are executives with Blue
Here's
Zone.
what I found.
The Blue Zones project here in Lake County, and we have Jamey Gill and we have April Strait. And the Blue Zones, it resonates with me. Our company, our business, Tammy's business, was a Blue Zones approved business down in Southern California, and we're getting ready to be approved, and the big hoopla on that here at the farm on August 3rd coming up, or August 3rd this year, here at the farm. And so that's going to be exciting. But Blue Zones to me is, well, one of you explain just in a nutshell Blue Zones. I mean, I can, but
Sure, I'll take that one. And I'll just start off by saying we are so excited about August 3rd. We can't wait to recognize you as being Blue Zones recognized organization in Lake County. So this will be like your second round of this. So that's pretty amazing. We've been telling all the people that this isn't your first time you've done this. So that says a lot. But Blue Zones, our work is based on the principles of the longest lived people in the world. So the 5 original Blue Zones that were discovered by Dan Buettner and his National Geographic team. Those are Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa, Japan. Sardinia is home to the longest lived male population on the planet, and Okinawa, Japan is home to the longest lived female population on the planet. And then we've got Nicoya, Costa Rica, Ikaria, Greece, and then we
hold on for it. Drum roll, please.
Okay, for this last one, right, is Loma Linda, California. So right here in California. So you don't have to live in...
That's like a city. That's not even a country, but it's like the highest percentage of plant-based eating people. I mean, it's amazing that a whole city has embraced it.
Yes, absolutely. So it is a Seventh-day Adventist community, and they focus on a plant-based diet. And so Blue Zones and Blue Zones Project focuses on this set of common principles that all these people in these 5 original Blue Zones share. And eating a plant-based diet is one of those principles. And it's not to say that every area of every blue zones people don't eat meat. Actually, Loma Linda, California is the only place where they are strictly plant-based, but meat is an option in the other 4 areas. It's just not, it's like the condiment on the plate instead of the big main course that we often see here.
Well, it's just not as often, right?
Right.
When you say meat, does that include fish or seafood or okay?
Does
All right.
that
Yeah.
include steak?
You know, yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It's just small, you know, small, like the
Like
palm of
16
your hand,
ounce,
small.
16
One of
ounce.
the things they say is portion control.
Mhm.
Well, I was going to
Absolutely.
go for the 20 ounce. Now I'll just go for the 16. So
There you go. There you go.
Just so you guys know me. I am here in Northern California in Lake County, and so and we're involved with you guys, and we love it. It just really resonates. And but my co-host here, Sam Lewis, he and I went to high school together, but he is in Bloomington, Illinois, and that is not a hugely plant-based society.
well, we're surrounded by corn.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You are. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That's
Well,
true.
we do have over 70 Blue Zones projects across the nation. So I can't think of any in Illinois.
Any near, yeah, I was going to ask, any near, Sam? Indiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Wisconsin.
And I'd have to look at the list because I can't name them all, but yeah, I don't know.
So how did each of you get involved in, I had heard of blue zones before, and I can't remember where I read about them, but they've done this research, everything you just said, but how did each of you get involved in this? What propelled you into this interest?
Well, Blue Zones Project is based on the common principles of the 5 Blue Zones. So one of them is around plant-based eating. One is moving naturally, incorporating lots of movement in your day. Another one is having the right outlook in your life. So knowing when we call it downshifting. It's just methods of de-stressing every day, right? And also
I noticed you both used that word in your bios, and I was like, well, there's something to this downshifting thing.
You're right. We're right. We call it downshifting, and that can be anything from, I like to garden after work. April likes to walk with her dogs. It could be, I think she also mentioned in her bio, shopping for vintage things, just like anything you can do to just relieve stress. So there's these common principles, and for myself, and I think I probably can speak for April as well, we were attracted to those things. I left a different career for this position because this is a really exciting opportunity for our community.
This is a paying gig?
Well, exactly. We all said that this morning. Our team just said, we looked at each other because we're wearing our t-shirts. We went for a walk in the park because we were mapping out a walking route with Faith Hornby Mark, and she mentioned that she'll be working with Interact Club in Lakeport, by the way, so making the Rotary connections there, and Blue Zones will be working with Lakeport Unified School District. But anyway, we all kind of looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, like, we're getting paid for this today. It's pretty amazing to be able to focus on health and well-being, and people are really grabbing onto it. So, we believe that coming together with stakeholders in our community and looking at all the good things that we're already doing, because there are a lot of great things going on here in Lake County, elevating those things, and then also identifying any opportunities where there might be gaps and working towards those. We've got a set of certification criteria, and in 2026, we will reach all that criteria and we will become a Blue Zone certified community. And that is really an amazing thing to hang our hat on. So I wanted to be part of that. And I don't know, April, if you want to add anything, but yeah, it's exciting.
April,
go ahead, Mark.
No, I was going to say what brought you to this organization?
So I had been working for the Office of Education as an early childhood educator coach, and it is a grant-based program. And I had some concerns, just minor concerns that the work could possibly be coming to an end because that's how it is with grant work sometimes. And funny enough, I was talking to a friend just kind of talking about what the ideal new position for me would be within the county. Just, talking about the things that I enjoy doing. I like advocating. I like community work. I like trying to make a difference in our county. I've had the opportunity to learn about each of our different communities within the county. Each of them is unique and has a little bit of a different culture. So I was talking about this with a friend, and I just said, I'd like to work for Blue Zones.
Mhm.
And my friend that I was with said, you should give Jamey a call. And I said, maybe I will. And not a matter of days later, Jamey shared on her social media that they were looking for an events and office specialist. And the rest is history.
Yeah,
Where does the grant come from?
That was with my previous position.
So how do you get paid? I mean, somebody's,
Yeah.
is it a tax-based thing? Is it
So
is it a
great
federal?
question. Yeah, it differs from project to project across the nation. So all projects have a sponsor, and I'm so glad you asked that question because we really love to highlight our sponsor, and that is Adventist Health. We don't work for Adventist Health. We work for Blue Zones and Share Care. And so Adventist Health just decided that this was such a great opportunity to build up health and well-being in the community and start this, process of forward thinking. Like, we don't want to just see the people who come into the emergency room. We want to help people so they don't have to come into the emergency room. And what an amazing concept, right, for a healthcare organization. And so they sponsored Lake County. We also have sister projects in Mendocino County has a Blue Zone project. And if you're not familiar with that, we share a border with Mendocino County. Also Upper Napa Valley, we share a border with them. So they are an Adventist Health sponsored Blue Zone project. Tuolumne County, Yuba Sutter. So that's how we get paid. And that sponsorship runs through 2026. And then from there, after we reach certification, we'll talk about phase 2, and we could possibly be looking for other sponsorship. And we'll just see how it goes then. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Sam, Adventist Health is a hospital chain here.
Yeah.
Chain of hospitals.
Yeah.
So now when you guys come into a county, and in this case it's a county, it's not a city or anything like that. How deep do you go? Who do you get? Are you going to the local politicos and getting buy-in and all of that? For instance, schools, you're obviously going out to the schools because these kids need to lift up and be aware. So I would think that would be a strong program, strong area.
Absolutely. So we have 3 areas of focus, which are people, places, and policy. And then our team is comprised of a lead in each of these areas. So we have Greg Damron, who is our policy lead, and he has been working with Lake County for years, especially in the area of tobacco policy. We have Kelly Yandell, who is our organization lead, and she just started with us last week, but she is a longtime resident of Lake County, grew up here. And then we have April and myself. And then we're looking for, because you heard April just took the position of engagement lead, but we're looking for an office and engagement person. But Greg works in the area of food, tobacco, and built environment policy. And then Kelly works with our schools, restaurants, grocery stores, work sites. April, do you want to add anything to that? Maybe share some of the share some of the names of the people who have registered with us or been approved. Yeah.
All right. So my job as engagement lead, I work with the Rotaries, with the civic organization on the process that they go through to become approved. So those are some of the organizations that I'll work with, and then Kelly takes the other ones. I get to do the fun stuff. I get to create the cooking demonstrations. I get to work more with the community and deepen that understanding of what Blue Zones is and how people can, incorporate it into their lives. I get to, go out and find those, what we call tabling, which is, setting up an informational table at any of our local events to spread the word. And I also do the social media, the Facebook and Instagram. That's my area. And I also make sure that we get a newsletter going out every month to update the community on the fun stuff that we're doing and the important stuff that we're doing. So,
Well,
yeah.
That's great. And what typically you're going after businesses that are one to many, so restaurants and somewhere where you can spread the mission statement and the message, and they can get on board and walk the talk.
Absolutely. The goal is to make the healthy choice the easy choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that we can get out in the community and, every organization, it doesn't matter if there's one employee or if they are one of our largest in the county. We got to build sustainability. We got to,
These businesses get any kind of a sticker or anything they can put in their windows and all that?
You sure do. You'll have one on August 3rd. You'll have a sticker
Okay.
and a banner.
Well, you guys know Bruno Sabatier, who is one of our supervisors, District 2 supervisors. But you guys are pretty much in lockstep, right? Because he is on this whole crusade, or whatever, for lack of a better word, to raise the level of local resources, utilizing locally resourced food groups, and that includes food too. But he'd like to see all the restaurants. He'd like to see more distribution centers for locally produced food, so that the restaurants are all becoming, they're serving tomatoes that were grown here and all kinds of vegetables that were grown here, but even cows and pigs and all of that, anything like that. I don't think you want to eat the fish out of Clear Lake, but nevertheless, but locally sourced as much local. And then he was talking about, and where did it go from here? He was talking about, in conjunction with Blue Zones, actually recognizing those businesses like a Saul Shop or someplace like that, with the thing saying, Lake County Blue Zone certified or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we had that wonderful brainstorming meeting out at your place, Mark, at Right Choice, and that's where that conversation really began around food policy, because Supervisor Sabatier, Bruno, had this vision, right? And all the things that you were mentioning there. And that aligned so nicely with Blue Zones. And that's our policy lead, Greg Damron, led that work. And by the way, I'm sure Greg would love to come back on a podcast and really deep into policy with you. But where we are with that right now is we're in the process of supporting Supervisor Sabatier, who's pulling together a food policy council for the county. And then we'll be able to address those things like you were saying. And that aligns so perfectly with our work and getting that little sticker, like you're saying, or becoming Blue Zones approved, because, for example, we're working with the Blue Wing in Upper Lake right now. So they're going through the process of becoming Blue Zone approved. And we worked through something called a pledge packet. There's all these different things, just like you and Tammy did, Mark, and it says here is a whole list of health and well-being items, and we say, what are you already doing? Let's check those off. And a lot of times when we do that, folks will say like, well, we're doing that, but we're not really doing that. So we'll brainstorm ways that, to go deeper into health and well-being. And then there'll be some things left that maybe they're not doing. So the Blue Wing is buying, you know, as much local food as they can and produce and things and their meats. But that's an item on that list. So if they're not, we can say, here you go. And then really working, you know, Bruno has this great vision about how can we really incent the farmers and support this, because that's the hard part, right? Like, and we heard at that brainstorming session, there was one person there who was saying, like, I have all this extra food, or what do I do with it? Or I can't supply it like I need to. And so we've got to make those connections. And it's not only with the restaurants, it's with the schools for the students, right? So they can eat the healthy local food as well.
I mean, that's a change, that the halo effect of that is that we are supporting local farmers so that they can survive, and at the same time providing locally sourced meals to the schools, which I just think that is, I always said, even when Nick Buettner was here and I talked to him, who's Dan Buettner's brother, I said, you know, I would focus on the schools and make it from the, you know, where these, you know, because I think parents and millennials and all of that are you know, they are searching for organizations that are activists and in these areas of health, you know. So if they see a restaurant that says we're Blue Zones approved, and they know, oh my gosh, we're going to be eating, you know, that just says something. We're going to be eating locally sourced food. We're meeting with people who are 2023 and going forward. They're interested in my well-being, and they must be, you know, I'd make sure all of my staff was knowledgeable on Blue Zones and smiling, and just so, man, I want to eat here all the time. But I just think, yeah, I think that, so selfishly, it becomes a marketing hub.
It does, which is right. You know, April will tell you, I'm sure, like, we want to market you. So we're partnering with you, Mark, and we talked to Tammy. We had a meeting a few weeks back about, okay, what can we do to really market that you really care about this community, and this is what you're doing to do that. And you care about, you know, your employees, whether it's one employee or a lot of employees. And so that is a benefit. And I think it's it's an amazing thing for Lake County to be able to say we're a Blue Zone project community. And you know what, you were saying something else too, and I was thinking, Sam, if you were to start a Blue Zone project in your area, you know, one of the things we do is we look at, like Mark was saying, what's that life radius that people live in, that 10 or so miles that we really don't leave that often, right? We go to the store, we go to the school, we go to, it's maybe a little further here for some of us in Lake County because we got the big lake in the middle of the, we're driving around a little bit. And we want to see that, like you were saying, Mark, that the grocery store is Blue Zone approved. We want to see that, you know, if I'm going to work at Lake County Office of Education, they're in the process of becoming Blue Zone approved. So I know that my organization is a part of this. I know if I go down the road to eat at Santana's or the Saw Shop or wherever, that they're approved, that they care. So it's circled all the way around us. So to try to give Sam a little bit of context, that's what we call this life radius. And you see these Blue Zones things popping up everywhere. And that's how we make the change in the environment.
Well, you're kind of setting me up for the question I was going to ask. If you were in this community and you had zero ground base here, how does, you know, because I would, I'm just listening to you, I would assume that, I mean, my guess is that certain communities are more embracing this than other communities. Like probably the community Mark and I grew up in, Blue Zone would be something totally different. And they, you know, unless you can get us a quarter pounder with cheese, you know, that Blue Zone thing.
That's kind of what I think that was.
Well, how does it how does it, you know, does somebody come to your community like Johnny Appleseed and say, well, it looks like we need a Blue Zone here, and you know what I mean, you know where I'm going.
The question becomes, who do you go to be the champion to bring Blue Zones into a community?
Well, somebody that would assume that somebody in the community already is interested. I'm saying
But you know what? I don't think, it's not like Lake County is the optimum, and nothing against Lake County. I live here, but there's a big mix of people here and set in their ways and things like that. And so I would say Bloomington's probably a really would be a super community to target, but you got to
Well, it's a
start.
high, we have we were one of the top 10 cities in the United States with college degrees per capita.
That's
So,
what I'm saying.
I don't know what that means exactly.
But Bloomington's kind of it's a smart community.
Mhm.
You guys are a smart community. I mean, you've got authors living there and all kinds of, so if I'm a Blue Zones rep and I'm going to a community, who is my first person I'm going to be a champion of me bringing Blue Zones to Bloomington? Is that their city council, their mayor, their supervisor for the county, or who is it?
I think it can depend on the community. So for example, in Lake County, it was the hospital, right? And it was the other way around, where the hospital went to Blue Zones and said, we want this. So there's a lot of that. So in Petaluma, they're starting one, and Sam, Petaluma is an hour and a half south of us in Sonoma County. And their sponsor is the city. The city is paying for Blue Zones. They're sponsoring. And
that's really, so it becomes who wants to invest in Blue Zones.
Yeah.
And to me, a hospital is a perfect partner because they've got the infrastructure and they have the events and the marketing and all of that to really, and they also have the dollars. I mean, anybody in the healthcare business has got the dollars to step up and promote this. And it makes them look smart, it makes them look positive, makes them look like they care. And so, hey, Sam, I think you should do that. Is there a hospital chain in your area?
No, we don't have any hospitals here, Mark.
Just a lot of
I
college
think that's the
degrees.
first thing. I think that's the first thing on my list. Get hospital.
Yeah.
You got a lot of smart people
Everybody's
there.
too smart. They don't need
Everybody's going to an
hospitals.
urgent care, or that shaman. Everybody's going to the shaman at the
Well,
end.
we
of the
got we do have. I go to Doctor's Medicine Wolfen,
Yeah.
so I don't know if he qualifies.
No, but seriously, they're a hospital chain, and you're
there's two big chains here in town. They kind of compete against each other. In Central Illinois,
we have the
there's a
same
big
thing.
change.
We have
Mhm.
Sutter Health, and we have Adventist. I mean, we have the same setup. So,
Yeah. And
hey,
you know
so
who else?
what would be the likelihood, Jamey, of Sam being the liaison to hook you up on a Zoom call to talk to a local hospital there? Would that be something that would fall into your wheelhouse, or would you send that somewhere else?
Would send that to Blue Zones LLC. So that's where we would send that, and they would work through what's called, a discovery process with the community. If the community was really serious and wanted to pursue this, and that's a 3 months you can have discovery process where they come and ask questions, make sure everybody's ready for this, and that's
I remember when they did that. Yeah.
yes, when Nick was
I'm not
out
entirely
and-
sure that the local Ecology Action Center. I think maybe the first talk I heard of Blue Zones was from Mr. Brown, and I for some my memory is clouded, but
I think it's clouding right now.
it's
actually.
cloudy. Yeah, it's getting cloudy right now. But I vaguely remember him coming to Rotary and mentioning that was one of the things that might have been on their list. I don't remember. It's been a while.
No, but a hospital has the resources to
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And
who else is a good sponsor is an insurance company.
Well, let's see if let me think if there's an insurance company here in Bloomington. This is the insurance capital of the
capital of the
state.
world, right?
Is it?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
State
There you
Farm started here. It's still here.
go. Okay.
And
Well,
country companies.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Sam,
So
you
who
need to find a champion. Find one of those daughters of yours who would like to be a champion to take Blue Zones to the State Farm or to the hospital or both. State Farm working with the hospital, that would be nice.
That would be good.
It seems
Yeah.
to go hand in hand, you know.
Wow.
Then they roll in. I mean, Nick was the one that was here, Nick Butner, and you know, they meet with your supervisors and your city council and you know, all of the politicos, and they talk to your community about, you know, they really do that exploratory, which I think is great. I mean, when I heard Blue Zones was coming here, I was going, oh, that's great. And then, okay, so my next question before we get too far into the weeds here is, what, and Sam, make that happen, okay? I'm going to leave you with that.
Sure, Mark,
So-
that's at the top
Easy.
of my list.
Right. So, what are the misperception? What is the perception versus reality of Blue Zones? The one I always hear is, and we heard it the first time when Blue Zones first got here. I saw some, you know, responses to a Facebook page. They said, "Oh, well, what if you're not vegetarian? How do you get involved in that?" You know, and you just have to say, well, it's a balance. It's not all vegetarian.
Mhm.
That was one of the perceptions that I walked away with. That you
Was
know,
it, is it one of those things where you just get to a certain level and it's good enough?
oh, are we there?
I don't know. It seemed like an opening. I took
You're
it,
supposed to save those things for the very end when we close
you know,
out.
but it was such a softball. I had to swing at it.
So no, really. So, what are the perceptions? April, you probably run into that all the time. You know, when you talk about it to people and companies and you know.
Right. You know, what's coming to mind is, you know, there is what we call the pledge packet for, you know, different organizations. And Jamey touched on this a little bit. There is a very long list of different things that you can do, you know, to be recognized as, you know, having health and well-being as a priority. So, you know, let's just say there's 1 to 10. You're not, well, all 10 may not be good for you. You know, they may not be what you want to do. What's really sticking in my mind is one of the pledges for restaurants is salt on the tables. You know, removing salt from the tables is a pledge item.
I don't
And
have salt on the tables anymore. And there have been so many times that where's the salt?
but that's good for some, that's not good for others. You don't have to do those things.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat a plant slant diet. You can, you know, do other things like, you know,
Well, but I think what you do want to tell them that, you know, you would like them to be much more balanced, you know, and think about what you're putting into your body.
absolutely. But you don't want to get stuck on that one thing that
Right,
doesn't fit for you.
And that's why
You know,
I think,
there's
yeah,
many other things.
agreed. That's why I think when you talk to these guys, well, it's not, because once again, the comments that I saw were, oh, well, I'm not vegetarian. Well, yeah, but do you have family? Are you having positive relationships with your family? Do you get along
Exactly.
with kids? Do you take a walk around the neighborhood? Do you, what
Yep.
do you know, and make, you know, get them thinking along those lines. Oh, wow. So if I just ate a little less meat, I would be a Blue Zones family, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we can take it back to what we refer to as the Power 9, which are those 9 common traits that the people who live in those 5 original Blue Zones did on the daily. And, you know, and it's not just a plant slant diet. It's not just, you know, these other things. Yes, I see that hand, Sam. Yeah.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes. Can I add one thing? Because I think this
No, you can't. We really need to wrap this up.
this blew me away. It's not good enough yet, Sam.
Oh,
I gotta take
all right.
I heard Dan Buettner say, and you can follow him on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram too, BZP Lake County, and Facebook.
Put all
Please
your
do.
plugs in right now. We're
That's
down
right.
to 4
That's right.
minutes.
But he said at one point, if you are overweight, it's not your fault. I thought that was like the biggest statement to make, because often we'll come in and we'll say to people, and I'm just using overweight as one thing, you need to go on a diet. You need to eat this, 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 and this, right? And some people that works for some people, but what he says is you're a product of your environment. So what we're really trying to do at Blue Zones Project is reshape that environment. And there's this thing back from the 90s called the Danish twin study. This blew me away as well. I learned this when we first started in this project, and it shared that they did a study on twins, and they found that 80% of your longevity is affected by your environment and how you act and work and play and move within that environment. Only 20% can be attributed to your genes, right? So what we're trying to do is to get people to just recognize tiny little shifts. And then we're also trying to just make it so that, if you go out to eat, you can choose a healthy option, and you might not even realize that we did that on the menu. I mean, you will, because you'll see the Blue Zones logo, but we're just have that option. It's just a natural part of the environment, right?
Now, with the restaurants,
Picture, I saw a picture of Bloomington Normal, and it was back in the 30s, and it was around the lake at the Miller Park, and that people were at a concert. Everybody, it was in the middle of summer. Everybody was wearing white. Everybody, and this place was packed. There were nobody sitting in chairs, lawn chairs, and they were all skinny. I mean, there must have been 100 and some odd people there, and they were all thin, and nobody was sitting in a chair, and they were standing to watch this concert. And I thought,
well, that was
our environment has changed.
And they were starving.
What?
That was the Depression. They were starving.
No, all right. I stand corrected.
They had their white
But it's still an environmental issue.
Those were white.
Hey, we're down to 2 minutes. We're down to 2 minutes. How can people connect with you?
All right. April, do you want to let people know how they can connect with us?
Sure. Follow us on Facebook, Blue Zones Project, Lake County. Follow us on Instagram, BZP Lake County. Subscribe to our newsletter through the website, which is, I believe it is Blue Zones Project, LakeCounty.com. Lake County.
Yes, if you just Google Blue Zones Project Lake County, it'll pop right up.
Yeah, everything will pop up.
We'll put the links in our show notes. So if you'll share those links with Mark or me, and we'll get those in there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
By the way, I just love what you guys are doing. So anytime you want to come back on, like when Greg gets back in country, we should have him.
That'd be great. He would love when he gets back from Peru. I'm sure he'll have some good stories.
Oh yeah.
Is that Peru, Illinois, or Peru? What?
Yeah, no.
That's just north of here, Peru, Illinois.
Is it really?
I'm just being benevolent. I'm just being benevolent by letting him actually be on the podcast.
Because I'm the host for the Zoom. He doesn't know how to run Zoom.
Yeah.
Hey, we thank you so much for joining us today. Go forth and keep doing the great work, and we'll look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you got.
Thank you.
Marvelous.
We really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
Nice meeting
All
you.
right.
Susan. See you soon, Mark. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Good. 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 Enough. As good enough.